Picture this. You are at a friends and family dinner and your cousin has just bought a brand new Mahindra BE6. But on the same table, your friend swears कि उनकी Nexon EV best EV है. And you have 20 lakh rupees burning a hole in your pocket and everyone is telling you कि Maruti की e-Vitara के लिए wait कर लो. And you are genuinely confused because which one do you buy? And since you are watching this on the Markets by Motilal Oswal channel, subscribe by the way for these deep dive analysis, you're also confused which stock should you own. Because between Tata Motors, Mahindra and Maruti Suzuki, these three companies are going to deploy over 50,000 crore rupees into electric vehicles over the next 5 years. ये कोई छोटा मोटा pocket change chiller amount नहीं है. This is a bet on the future of Indian mobility. Not just range, charging का infra, horsepower, looks, aesthetics. The question is about which company will win, stand strong in 2030. किसके पास होगा वो सर्विस नेटवर्क जब तुम्हारी गाड़ी को supposedly 2028 में repairs चाहिए होंगे? Which stock has the potential to reward you for believing early? Because Indian EV के मार्केट में हमने काफी कहानियां पहले भी देखी हुई हैं. Remember Riva, इंडिया की पहली इलेक्ट्रिक कार कंपनी. Mahindra bought it and discontinued. And not just EVs, तुम्हें पता है कि कितनी कार कंपनीज आई हैं और इंडिया छोड़ के जा भी चुकी हैं. And this is why today we are going to break down India's electric car war. Hype, speculation, data with the kind of analysis that helps you make a decision. चाहे वो गाड़ी खरीदना हो या फिर investing in the future. Let's begin. इंडिया की ईवी कार मार्केट का गेम जीतेगा कौन, उसको समझने से पहले यह जानना जरूरी है कि एक्चुअली प्राइस कितना बड़ा है. अकॉर्डिंग टू नीति आयोग अगस्त 2025 रिपोर्ट, इंडिया का ईवी मार्केट कुड बी वर्थ $200 billion by 2030. That's roughly 17 lakh crore रुपए. Now this number has a lot of context. Let me explain. India sold about 20 lakh EVs in 2024, but in 2016 this number was a mere 50,000. मैथ करने की जरूरत नहीं है. I'm telling you that is a 59% compounded growth over 8 years. Insane growth, but there's also a catch. Right now, EVs make up only about 2.4% of the Indian car market. On a global level, EV penetration is about 16%. हमारे पड़ोसी China में that penetration is about 35%. So India is way behind technically, and the government's target is to have 30% EV market penetration by 2030. Number terms में that would mean roughly 8 crore electric vehicles on Indian roads by 2030, and that requires investment. And according to नीति आयोग estimate, वो investment है of about $266 billion US. यानी लगभग 20 लाख करोड़ रुपए across charging, infrastructure and batteries, vehicles. And I want you to take a moment to understand this. The game is not selling a few hundred cars to early adopters like it was in 2016. This is about positioning for a market that could be worth 10 times more what it is today. इसीलिए तुम देखोगे हर major automaker scramble कर रहा है to launch their EV portfolio, but there is a problem with this. India currently has about 29,000 public charging stations. It sounds like a lot until you do the math. That's roughly one charger for every 135 to 235 EVs on road, compared to China, which has a ratio of about 9 EVs per charger. CII estimate करता है कि हमें चाहिए होंगे लगभग 13 लाख chargers by 2030. That means installing 4 lakh chargers every year, and currently हम 8 से 9 हजार ही कर रहे हैं. So what you need to understand is that infrastructure gap is massive, but that also means that the opportunity is even more massive. And now इस सब context के साथ, when we talk about the players who are trying to capture this EV market, we can figure out कि इसको जीतेगा कौन. There is just something about the Tata brand, and honestly it's the one company that deserves the credit for making EVs mainstream in India. January 2020 में when they launched the Nexon EV, most people thought that electric cars were just for rich people who need an extra toy in the form of a car. लेकिन by 2023 Tata had 70% of the EV car market in India. 70% pure dominance, but तब से अब तक चीजें थोड़ी बदल गई हैं. In FY 2024, that 70% market share dropped to 58% by October of 2024. By November, it was 49%. By March 2025, it was down to 38%. For the full financial year of 2025, Tata settled at around 55% market share. They were still the leader, but no longer the only choice for customers. And here is a list of the things that went wrong for them. Some थोड़े obvious, some not so obvious. First, not so obvious, the FAME 2 subsidy expired in March 2024. This hit Tata hard because a big chunk of their EV sales were from fleet operators, cab services, delivery companies. And जब वो subsidy expire हो गई, तो the fleet sales collapsed. This drop was from 26,000 units in 2023 to just 2,000 in 2024. Second, obviously, competition showed up. Mahindra ने launch करी अपनी BE6 and XEV9e. MG की Windsor became a surprise hit and suddenly the EV customers had a choice. Third, and this is important for investors, Tata की गाड़ियों में क्वालिटी के इश्यूज सामने आने लगे. Now please understand, this does not mean that Tata makes bad cars. कोई रीजन है कि Nexon EV bestseller है. What I'm saying is that when you are the first mover, you also bear the burden of learning in public. And ऐसा नहीं है कि टाटा इसके बारे में कुछ कर नहीं रहा है. They've committed serious money, about 16 to 18,000 crore rupees in EV investments up to FY30. In fact, उनकी EV product strategy is even more fascinating. They're calling this strategy 2-2-2. Two models in entry segment, two in mid and two in premium. Tiago EV and Punch EV cover the 8 से 14 लाख का bracket. Nexon EV and their new Curve EV handle the 12 से 22 लाख वाला range. And the Harrier EV, which launched in June 2025, goes up to 30 lakh. The Harrier EV, by the way, got 10,000 bookings in the first 24 hours of its launch. So clearly Tata brand के पास अभी भी वो pulling power तो है. But what most people don't know about is कि Tata की real strength उनकी गाड़ियां नहीं, उनका ecosystem है. And the good sign is कि उनकी management is aware of these trends. They are even aware कि उनका market share will slip further. I found this quote from Shailesh Chandra, the MD of Tata Passenger Vehicles, where he said openly, yes, we will lose some market share in the short term, but that is not the metric we are chasing. Their target is now to stabilize at a 45 to 50% market share. Dominant, but still away from the 70% wala domination. And now for investors, this is what is more important. Unka standalone EV business, Tata Passenger Electric Mobility, did about 9,300 to 10,400 crore revenue in FY24. And critically, EBITDA margins turned positive, about 1.1% in Q4 of 2024. Their stock trades at a PE of about 8 to 12 times, which is way below the peer median of 30. But that is partly because of problems at Jaguar Land Rover, which is a topic for entirely different video. तुम बताना comments में अगर तुम्हें वो video चाहिए तो. Analysts like ICICI Securities have a buy rating with a target of 1,200 rupees. Jefferies is at 1,000, which means that analysts see the Tata EV business as undervalued within the broader Tata Motors का structure. And that is exactly why our next player is a bigger threat to Tata's domination. Mahindra को तुम सोच सकते हो as Indian EV market की comeback story. Let me take you back a bit to explain why. Because most people don't know, but Mahindra was in the EV game even before Tata. उन्होंने launch करी the Riva E20 all the way back in 2013, a car that was way ahead of its time. Tiny, quirky, had limited range, and it flopped spectacularly. And उसके flop के बाद, for years, Mahindra की EV story became a tale of caution. They tried, failed, and moved on. But something changed in 2021. Anish Shah took over as CEO and he started restructuring aggressively. Mahindra exited or scaled back 12 loss-making ventures. And they decided to focus on what they actually did well, the SUVs. Fast forward to November 2024 and वो launch करते हैं the BE6 and XEV9e. Built on a completely new platform called Inglo, a ground-up electric architecture, not a converted ICE vehicle. And the results, to underplay, have been dramatic. Mahindra EV sales have grown over 512% year on year in June 25. उनका market share jumped from 8% in early 2024 to 23% by mid 2025. BE6 alone got over 30,000 bookings on day one. उन्होंने launch करा एक Batman limited edition, only 999 units, and it was sold out in 135 seconds. So the question naturally is how? Three reasons. First, उनका Inglo platform is actually genuinely competitive. It's got 175 kilowatt fast charging, which takes the vehicle from 20% to 80% charge in just 20 minutes. The BE6 has a certified range of 682 kilometers. Real world range is about 500 kilometers, but it is still class leading. Second, and this is a big one, are their partnerships. उनकी गाड़ियां यूज करती हैं BYD's Blade battery cells, and they've also announced a partnership with the Volkswagen Group, जिसके according they'll switch to Volkswagen's unified cell tech from 2026. These partnerships are access to scale and tech that would have taken them years to develop independently. Third, and the most clever one in my opinion, is the decision to only brand their EVs as premium vehicles. The cheapest Mahindra EV is the XUV 400 at about 15.5 lakhs. BE6 starts at 18.9 lakhs. XEV 9e goes up to 30.5 lakh. Yani ki they don't even intend to compete with Tata at the 8, 10, 12 lakh wala range. Their goal is to target buyers who want the best tech and are ready to pay for it. Mahindra also did a smart thing and directly addressed the biggest consumer anxiety with EVs, un gaadiyon ki resale value. They are offering lifetime battery warranty for the first registered owner. Bold promise, but it addresses EV खरीदने वाले लोगों की सबसे बड़ा stress. The thought of a dead battery which is worth 40% of their car's value. On the investment side, Mahindra's board has approved 12,000 crore rupees for the EV subsidiary through March 2027. They've already raised money from British International Investment and Temasek at valuations up to 80,000 crore rupees. But there's also a risk with Mahindra's strategy. Because when you position yourself as the premium brand, तुम्हारे पास कोई रूम फॉर एरर नहीं रहता है. लेट्स से BE6 की डिलीवरी सफर करती हैं या फिर क्वालिटी इश्यूज अराइज करते हैं, देन द स्टॉक कुड करेक्ट शार्पली. एंड यस, वो अपना खुद का चार्जिंग नेटवर्क बना रहे हैं कॉल्ड charge.in. वो टारगेट कर रहे हैं 250 स्टेशंस विद 1000 चार्जिंग पॉइंट्स बाय 2027. स्टार्ट है बट मच स्मॉलर टू द चार्जिंग नेटवर्क दैट टाटा पावर हैज. सीईओ अनीश शाह तो इवन टारगेट कर रहे हैं EVs टू फॉर्म 30% ऑफ महिंद्रा's प्रोडक्ट मिक्स बाय 2030. एंड गिवन देयर मोमेंटम, ऑनेस्टली सीम्स अचीवेबल. बट समथिंग दैट also seems inevitable is the arrival of a brand in the EV market जिसके पास पोटेंशियल है इस पूरे मार्केट को हिला के रख देने की. मारुति, इंडिया का सबसे बड़ा कार ब्रांड, फॉर इयर्स वाज एब्सेंट फ्रॉम द ईवी मार्केट. उस टाइम पर जब टाटा महिंद्रा वर लॉन्चिंग EVs लेफ्ट राइट सेंटर, नए प्लेयर्स आ रहे थे एंड मारुति वाज स्टिल टॉकिंग अबाउट हाइब्रिड्स एंड CNGs. बहुत लोगों ने उन्हें स्लो, आउट ऑफ टच, एरोगेंट तक बोला, बट मे बी दे वर नॉट अवेयर ऑफ द गेम दैट मारुति वाज प्लेइंग. टू अंडरस्टैंड, लुक एट द स्टेटमेंट फ्रॉम मारुति चेयरमैन RC भार्गव. वी वांटेड टू सेल मे बी 10,000 EVs in a month before committing. सिंपल शब्दों में कहो तो Maruti was not interested in selling a few hundred cars to enthusiasts. They wanted to see mass market demand before they invested billions in the market. And the moment finally arrived on December 2nd, 2025 when they launched the e-Vitara in India, जिसको तुम इंडिया में खरीद नहीं सकते थे. And it is an interesting strategy to analyze. हो सकता है जब तक तुम ये वीडियो देखो उनकी सेल्स एंड डिलीवरी शुरू हो चुकी हो. Manufactured in Gujarat, exported to Japan, Europe and 26 other markets, they have positioned India as Suzuki's global EV production hub. While this means economies of scale that a purely domestic market would not have provided, but it would not have worked without competitive specs, which they delivered. e-Vitara has two battery options, 49 kWh with 344 km ka range and 61 kWh with 543 km ka range. It also got a 5-star Bharat NCAP safety rating. Pricing is expected between 17 and 22.5 lakh rupees. But Maruti ka real advantage is not the car. It is everything around the car. Maruti has about 5,500 service touch points across 2,764 cities. That is more than double what Tata has. And Mahindra तो इस comparison में दूर दूर तक नहीं है. They have 40,000 service base. पिछले साल उन्होंने 2.7 करोड़ vehicle service करे हैं. And for EV specifically, they have already equipped 1,500 workshops and trained 1.5 lakh technicians. उन्होंने partner करा है with 13 charging point operators to offer access to over 1 lakh charging points by 2030. And I like this framework. From Partho Chatterjee, their head of sales, something they call the Trinity of Anxiety. EV owners के लिए this Trinity of Anxiety is the anxiety of range, चार्जिंग एंड रीसेल वैल्यू. उनका मानना यह है कि EVs ट्रूली मेन स्ट्रीम तब तक नहीं जा सकती जब तक इन तीनों चीजों को सॉल्व ना करा जाए. एंड मारुति का ब्रांड रेपुटेशन, उनका सर्विस रिकॉर्ड, उनकी रिलायबिलिटी वाली रेपुटेशन एड्रेस करती हैं वो रीसेल वाला पीस बेटर देन अदर कॉम्पिटिटर्स. थिंक अबाउट इट. इफ यू आर अ फर्स्ट टाइम EV बायर इन अ टियर 2 सिटी, व्हिच ब्रांड विल यू ट्रस्ट? वो कंपनी जिसका सर्विस सेंटर 5-10 किलोमीटर दूर है, या फिर वो सर्विस सेंटर जहां पर तुम 15 साल से अपनी स्विफ्ट सर्विस करा रहे हो? और वुड यू ट्रस्ट अ न्यूअर brand with a smaller network? ये ट्रस्ट ही मारुति का मोट है. एंड द रिस्क इज ऑब्वियस टू. देयर अबाउट 3 to 5 years लेट इन द मार्केट, क्योंकि टाटा ने ऑलरेडी बिल्ड कर लिए हैं वो ब्रांड एसोसिएशंस जो अब मारुति को सिर्फ मैच नहीं बीट करने होंगे. महिंद्रा इज टारगेटिंग द प्रीमियम मार्केट. अर्ली अडॉप्टर्स ऑलरेडी अपनी पहली EVs खरीद चुके हैं. एंड मारुति का EV पोर्टफोलियो इज वेरी थिन. अभी के लिए इट्स जस्ट e-Vitara. They've promised 3 more models by 2030 and there is also a supply chain issue. Maruti had to cut FY26 e-Vitara production targets from 88,000 to 67,000 units due to rare earth supply disruptions from China. That is a vulnerability. And for investors, Maruti trades at around 32 times PE, similar to Mahindra ka premium. But that valuation is based on their already dominant ICE business, not EV contribution, which is currently zero. Goldman Sachs has a target of 19,000 rupees. Morgan Stanley is at 18,360. They see the e-Vitara as optionality, upside potential that is not yet priced in. And yet Maruti is a brand जो सबको पता है कि market capture कर सकता है, बट उनके सामने कुछ वाइल्ड कार्ड्स भी खड़े हैं. एंड कंक्लूजन पर पहुंचने से पहले वी ऑब्वियसली नीड टू टॉक अबाउट द कंपनीज जो एक्चुअली इन तीनों को डिसरप्ट कर सकती हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल एमजी मोटर, नाउ ओन्ड बाय जेएसडब्ल्यू, केम आउट ऑफ नोवेयर टू कैप्चर 28% ऑफ द ईवी मार्केट इन FY 2025. उनकी विंडसर ईवी हिट 50,000 सेल्स फास्टर देन एनी इलेक्ट्रिक कार इन इंडियन हिस्ट्री. उनका सीक्रेट था द बैटरी एज अ सर्विस स्ट्रेटेजी, वेयर यू कैन बाय द कार फॉर 9.99 lakhs and rent the battery, which solves the upfront cost problem immediately. Even Hyundai launched the Creta EV in January 2025, and given Hyundai ki brand equity, this should have been a blockbuster. But sales have been slower than expected, around 4,000 units through mid 2025. But Hyundai has resources and patience. And then there is the BYD shaped elephant in the room. Their tech is arguably the best globally. Blade batteries, vertical integration, price performance that no one can match. But they've been blocked from manufacturing in India on national security grounds. But अगर वो change होता है, then we gotta watch out. Tesla also finally launched in India. They opened their first showroom in Mumbai in July 2025. The Model Y is priced around 60 to 68 lakh rupees. ये कोई mass market product नहीं है, but it shifts the perception of what EVs can be. And VinFast, the Vietnamese manufacturer, has committed $2 billion to their Tamil Nadu facility, with production starting in 2025. The point is कि Tata, Mahindra, Maruti कोई vacuum में आपस में competition नहीं कर रही हैं. The landscape and competition is evolving fast. And the answer to who will win in 2030 is slightly different than what you expected. जवाब जानने के लिए, here is what we have to consider. If you are buying a car today or maybe in the next few months, here is how I would like to think about it. Tata gives you the broadest choice. Mahindra, like I said, is for the people who want the best tech and are ready to pay for it. But you are paying a premium. Mahindra ka service network is smaller, so finding specialized EV support might be harder. And Maruti makes sense if you value peace of mind above cutting edge features. The e-Vitara might not be the most exciting EV, but Maruti ka value statement is unmatched. But for investors, the calculus is entirely different. Mahindra offers the clearest growth stories. Their cars are genuine hits. Execution has been strong. Unka Volkswagen partnership adds long-term technology ka access. The risk is that 31 times ka PE ratio leaves no room for disappointment. Tata Motors is your value play. At 8 to 12 times PE, unka EV business is almost being valued at zero because JLR problems dominate the consolidated picture. अगर तुम बिलीव करते हो कि JLR stabilize हो जाएगा, the Indian market will continue to grow, the business will continue executing, then there is significant upside. But that requires patience. Maruti is about optionality. You're paying 32 times for their dominant ICE business. The e-Vitara is the upside that is not yet in the price. उनका risk है कि अगर the EV market continues to evolve faster than they are expecting, then उनका late arrival can lead to a disappointment and could be a permanent disadvantage. And now here is my honest take on 2030. Obviously, there will not be one clear winner because the market is going to be big enough for multiple large players. What is more likely is specialization. Tata will probably remain the value leader, covering the widest price range with the deepest ecosystem. It is incredibly hard for any new player to beat the first mover advantage that Tata has in brand perception or to replicate their charging infrastructure. Mahindra will probably own the premium segment. Unka premium position play and the Inglo platform gives them a genuine competitive edge, one that should allow them to trade volume for margin. And Maruti will probably dominate whenever EVs go mass market. Because when the buyer is a family in Lucknow or Ludhiana or Nagpur or Nashik who just wants a reliable transport and a service center nearby, Maruti ka distribution advantage becomes decisive. And the real wild card is policy. If the government decides to mandate EV adoption, the way Niti Aayog is now recommending, the timeline accelerates dramatically. If charging infrastructure actually hits those 4 lakh chargers a year wala number, consumer anxiety goes away. And if Chinese competitors gain access, the price dynamic shifts completely. So the question remains, what should you do? The answer is simpler than what you're expecting. If you are buying a car, test drive all the brands. Seriously, because if you have never experienced an EV before, these specs on paper do not capture how these cars are in reality. Pay attention to the service center locations near your home. Talk to existing owners if you can. And if you are investing, understand that you are not betting on one product. You are betting on execution, ecosystem, and management quality over a 5-year horizon. And the big takeaway is that you don't have to pick just one. A portfolio could reasonably include Tata for value, Mahindra for growth, and Maruti for stability. Because वो $200 billion को opportunity is tangibly real. The question is कि कौन सी company will capture how much of it. So I ask you कि तुम क्या सोचते हो? Which company are you most bullish on? अपना EV experience मुझे comments में बताओ. And अगर तुम्हें analysis पसंद आया तो वीडियो को like करो, चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करो. ऐसे और deep dive analysis के लिए इस वीडियो को share करो with someone who is confused about EVs. We put a lot of research in all our videos, including this one. तुम्हें हमारी सारी sources description में मिल जाएंगी. And as always, this is not investment advice. Always do your own research, your own due diligence before making any financial decision. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.